Hello, good evening. This is Whitney Eads RN. And oh my gosh, the last couple days for the Womb Minds Matter wombment, it has been really taken off. And it's super exciting to discuss the possibilities with colleagues that you meet when you're talking to people about different things that occur with children. And so today it was really super interesting because we were throwing out some of these ideas with some coworkers, and they agreed and they had heard these things before. So I wanted to kind of rewind a little bit, and today's topic in Womb Minds Matter, the wombment, is going to be about in utero exposure, whether it be intentional or accidental, the result of addiction or the result of an unrecognized exposure. These things all matter to those womb minds. It's something to consider. So the colleagues and I, we were talking about some of the recent information that's just came out in the last couple of days. So you can grab these articles yourself on your Google search or whatever search drive that you're using. And they were talking about a couple different exposures that can happen to pregnant people when the babies are still in utero. One of them was the accidental exposures of early days in pregnancy, where you may have had a little bit of alcohol in your system or other exposures. And you can look up a lot of information about these exposures of what they do. They've done numerous MRIs of these babies' brains after they're born, and you'll see little differences, little thickness variances in the centers of their brains and all of the circulations of the brain. So you'll see these tiny little differences. And what the research is pretty much supporting is that these tiny little differences can affect the way your child as an adult thinks about things, reacts to things, emotionally gets engaged with things. So be very careful about those ways that you potentially could expose your child when you are pregnant. And probably the best practice would be, if you're considering getting pregnant, to go ahead and start abstaining, being very clean living, getting your prenatals on board so that there's great brain formation in the first place, and those types of things to consider. And that's really going to improve that womb mind's development in that early time. The other thing that we were really shocked about and we were looking at the other day is the fact that a lot of makeup nowadays, there's a big report that just came out in June, I think just a couple of days ago, that upwards of half of the makeup that's used in the United States is contaminated with heavy metals, and I can't remember the exact acronym. It's like a PCBE type of chemical that we know causes birth defects and harm and other issues to people. And then we got to thinking about how many women really want to look cute, trying to look beautiful during maybe pregnancy shoots or throughout their pregnancy or during delivery, and they're intentionally putting all this makeup on them, but they're not realizing the level of contaminants that are in these things. And it is what they call a dermal application. So it's going to be on the skin. Anything that's topical is a dermal application, and you have to be concerned about absorbing things through your skin too that could be potentially contaminated with heavy metals or other chemicals that are known to cause problems for formation in utero. So when we start thinking about that, we were just kind of blown away on this Womb Minds Matter and how strong the wombment really needs to become, because we need to cherish these pregnant people to make sure that these pregnancies are optimal, that the babies are coming out with the best expectations, that we're really supporting those best expectations for the moms. And how do we make this happen for people? How do we support this? How do we explain and expose the value of all of this information, because it's so vital? We're actually of the thinking now that the more that these exposures are happening, this is also part of what's happening in society, is people have little indiscretions or glitches in their brain makeup and system, and we're not always recognizing that fact. Everyone doesn't always get an MRI if they have a behavior issue or a problem on a toddler or a child in preschool. So we don't know if there is a little bit of that wiring that's been adjusted. So that being said, today our biggest topic was please, if you're going to be pregnant, try to maintain that pregnancy in the best level of sobriety that you can. If you're thinking about becoming pregnant, please try to maintain and support that pregnancy that you're going to develop in the best way that you can in the beginning. Womb minds really do matter, and we know that a lot of these things, if we embrace a womb mind and make it a really strong thing before it is born, that it's going to have the foundation to continue and carry on. Sure, this isn't always foolproof, but no matter what the given situation is, don't you want the outcome to be optimal? Don't you want things to be the best that they can be? So no matter what the challenges are, we want those things to be the best. So the least in utero exposure is the best thing to have those outcomes happen, because womb minds really do matter. And I thank you for listening. Again, all of this information can be found out there to back it up with further research. It's really about me breaking it down for people so that you don't have to do that research if you don't want to. I don't speak from anything off the top of my head. It's really things that have been supported by documentation and other things that are just coming to the forefront right now. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great night, and we'll keep discussing the wombment later on.